The desert remembers, that morning the way an old man remembers the tremble in a long-lost lover's hand. Soft, fragile, almost holy. Dawn had only begun brushing the mesas with pale gold when Cole Hartling rode out, his silhouette long and lonely against the waking horizon. The world was quiet in that lonesome way only the high desert knows, when even the wind seems to hold its breath for whatever sorrow the day is about to reveal. Cole felt it too, a tightness in the chest he'd learned not to question, the kind that comes when a man is about to stumble into something that will change the shape of his soul. Buzzards circled low over a dried creek bed, their shadows dragging crooked shapes across the sand. Cole slowed Ember, brushing his calloused thumb along the horse's neck. Trust the animals. They always sense the things men were too stubborn to see. As he stared up at those black wings turning slow as a prayer wheel, an old memory flickered through him of someone he once failed to save. He was never sure if it was a real memory or a regret that had grown a heartbeat of its own. He eased down the slope toward the wash, boots sinking into powdery sand. The world grew quieter still. Cole noticed faint tracks, men's boots, hurried, reckless. Then smaller prints, bare feet dragging, stumbling. 5 sets. Something pinched inside him. He knelt, letting the dust sift through his fingers, and felt the fear lingering in the trail like a cold breath. A whimper floated through the stillness, so faint he thought it was the wind at first. Then again, like a sob made of sand. Cole followed the sound until he rounded a bend in the wash and stopped cold, breath shuddering out of him. 5 Apache girls lay partially buried by blown sand, wrists and ankles bound with tight rawhide, lips cracked, eyes sunken but alive. The oldest, maybe 16, stared at him with a fierceness that tried to stand tall despite her collapsed body. The others trembled like newborn foals: Nita, Tala, Sani, Yola, Makiri. Children who'd been abandoned in a place meant to swallow them whole. Cole's heart, which had been a locked barn for years, cracked open like it hadn't in a long time. He crouched slowly, hands visible. "Easy now. I'm here." They didn't understand his words, but they understood the softness. He worked the rawhide loose, each cut steady and careful, as if freeing them freed something in him too. When Makiri whimpered, he murmured soothingly, his voice breaking in ways he didn't expect. He poured a tiny sip of water onto his palm and pressed it gently to Nita's lips. She recoiled. Shame and fear knotted in her eyes. So Cole set the canteen on the sand and backed away, palms open, waiting. Tala watched him closely. She nudged Nita toward the water. The girl crawled to it, trembling, and drank. A small act of trust. A small act of grace. Enough to stir something fragile between them. But then Cole noticed fresh horseshoe marks. Deep. Recent. Raiders who had left these girls here might not be far. His breath tightened. The desert seemed to shift as if listening. He gathered blankets from his saddle, wrapped each girl gently, lifting the youngest into his arms with a reverence one might use with a wounded bird. As he hoisted Makiri onto Ember, the girl touched the sleeve of his coat, just a brush, barely a thought, and yet it anchored him. He walked beside the horse, letting the other girls follow with small, unsteady steps, his presence becoming their shelter. The sun rose hotter with each mile. Sweat stung his eyes, sand clung to their skin. Yet something different pulsed in the air, an unspoken bond, shaped not by language, but by survival, and the quiet courage of staying close. The girls clung to one another, and sometimes to him, and he let them without shame. By the time the town of Red Bluff came into view, Cole already dreaded what eyes would make of this. And he was right. The moment he entered the main street, people turned. A woman froze at the well, water slopping over her bucket. Men paused mid-step. A whisper traveled like brush fire. "What's he doing bringing Apaches here? Ain't right. Never trusted that Hartling man." Cole felt their judgment like burrs beneath the skin, but he walked anyway, shoulders squared, body forming a barrier between the girls and the world. He led them straight to Doc Harlan's door and knocked sharply. The doctor opened it, blinked, paled. "Cole, you bring those girls here. You'll stir half this town into a storm." "They're children," Cole said, voice trembling. "That's all." Harlan hesitated. eyes darting to the street where whispers thickened. Cole stepped closer, not threatening, just pleading with the weight of a man who'd run out of reasons to keep his heart shut. Help them. Something in his tone broke the doctor's resistance. Harlan opened the door wide. Cole guided the girls inside, and he swore he felt Tala's gaze soften, her chin lifting with a fragile new dignity. For the first time that day, hope breathed in the room. But it didn't last long. From outside came the low thunder of hooves, a rising plume of dust, shadows moving fast toward town. Cole stepped onto the porch, jaw tightening as he recognized the riders' silhouettes. Raiders. They'd followed the trail, maybe to finish what they started. Cole unholstered his rifle with a slow calm that steadied the air around him. Sheriff Maddox emerged from across the street, then two ranch hands, then the blacksmith. None of them spoke, but something in Cole's stance, solid, unwavering, drew them into a line beside him. The raiders slowed, taking in the silent wall of men. No shouting, no gunfire, just the heavy, breathless tension of two sides measuring each other's resolve. Cole stood tall, heart pounding, ready to defend 5 trembling lives with everything he had. The raiders assessed the odds, cursed under their breath, and turned their horses away. Dust swallowed them as they retreated into the horizon. The danger passed like a shadow slipping off the sun. Cole's shoulders sagged with relief. Inside, the girls watched from the window. When he came back in, Tala approached him, slow, unsure, and took his hand in a gesture more powerful than any word she could have spoken. Gratitude. Trust. A silent promise that she saw him now not as a stranger, but as the one who chose to stand. Cole felt something bloom in his chest, warm and quiet and deeply earned. A piece of his spirit, once taken by war, buried under years of silence, found its way back home. The girls rested in safety, wrapped in blankets, the doctor tending to their wounds. And the town, once suspicious, began to see them through the lens of Cole's compassion rather than fear. A shift so small yet so monumental, it could only be born from courage. An old soul narrator drifts in now, speaking not just of Cole, not just of the girls, but of us. There are days in a person's life when the world doesn't change because of thunder or bullets or grand speeches. It changes because someone chooses kindness when it costs them something. Because a man who thought his heart was too worn to matter ends up saving 5 young lives simply by refusing to walk away. And maybe that's the real miracle of the human spirit, how it can be cracked and scarred and still rise like green shoots through hard earth. The desert remembers that morning. The sky remembers. And somewhere in its quiet, eternal way, so does Cole Hartling, carrying the truth that even the loneliest hearts can bloom again when they stand for someone who cannot stand for themselves.